Hi there guys, Simon Briley here, ParadiseTri, and Scott Hill qualified at Ironman Wales last year, so you've had quite a long spell to get yourself prepared for this in itself. But we're out here in Hawaii Ironman World Championships. Scott's arrived a week and a half ago.
Yeah, Monday the 1st.
Monday the 1st.
Arrived on the night of Monday the 1st, which is pretty good.
Okay.
It's nice to be out here for a week.
So tell us kind of like a little bit of a run up and how you've been feeling perceived wise and acclimatization, and tell us, you know, through the different days on jet lag and all sorts of things that people could expect if they were coming out to Kona in the future.
Yeah, so while we've been here, so arrived Monday the 1st, arrived in the evening around 8 p.m. Straight away stepping off the plane, you could feel the difference, especially in the humidity. Even though it was a lot cooler in the evening, you could feel the humidity at that time of night still. That night it was kind of a bit of a broken sleep pattern due to the transit from the UK over to here being around about 25 hours, and you don't sleep much, or I don't sleep much on the plane anyway. So that certainly had its effect on the body, meaning that I went into the second day, the 2nd of October, which is a Tuesday, not feeling comfortable to really train or want to train. So I decided not to train that day for that reason, because I wouldn't get any benefit out of doing it.
No, that's right.
So I decided just to sort of, you know, get my body used to the heat, have a walk around the shops, do a bit of shopping, and set my bike up and make sure all my kit and equipment was working as well. So I kind of spent that day being a bit proactive and productive doing that, really.
Yeah, getting that stuff out of the way, so if there is any issues with the mechanical side of stuff, you can resolve that with no rush and no panic. Yeah, great stuff.
Definitely.
Okay, and then kind of after, once you kind of started to get into a better sleep pattern, 3 days you reckon it took?
Yeah, so obviously the night of the 2nd of October was a Tuesday. Again, that was I slept better that night, still waking up early. I was quite happy with that, because kind of race morning you've got to wake up early anyway, or earlier than what you would normally do. So so with my body clock into that cycle, I stayed in that cycle, so I was going to bed when I felt tired that evening, meaning I woke up earlier, and I've stayed in that cycle for that reason later on. So I'm waking up every morning at the minute, sort of 4:30.
Okay.
But I'm happy with that, because I'm still eating breakfast as I would do, and it gives me enough time to sort of stay relaxed and focused, and then I can go down early on in the daytime to do some training at the same sort of time as when we would go down and set up everything for race morning.
Sure,
as well. So,
sure, yeah. And I mean, those people that don't know what Ironman actually, just the start of the day itself is a very early start. If you're the type of person that wants to get a breakfast down yourself, you're going to have to be looking at 3 a.m. alarm clock to get up, to get that settled in, and then get all your prep, last minute prep, get down to race start. It's a race start of 6 a.m. is it, Hill?
No, so I think pros are about 6:30
Okay.
a.m. Age group of men are 7:20, I believe.
Okay.
Which is good. I'm happy with that. That's probably around about the time I normally do my swim training in the UK as well, so that time, so it kind of fits in well to my body anyway.
Sure.
How I've been training in the UK.
In the pool.
In the pool, yeah.
So that transition, speaking whilst we're on that term in itself, you've had an opportunity to get into the sea quite a few times, and obviously here in Hawaii Ironman is it's a non-wetsuit swim for all athletes, and the water was fantastic conditions today. We've actually had an awesome day today with weather-wise. It's been really cool for what we could be hitting on race day in particular, especially the humidity. But however, open water, how have you tried to adapt to transferring that pool-based training into the open water since you've been here actually as well? Yeah,
so I'm not a natural swimmer. It's not my comfort zone. So I find swimming very hard, like many, age group athletes also find that hard. So pool session stuff, we've been focusing a lot on the longer distance things.
Sure.
3-4 times 1K efforts. I feel that's helped me doing that sort of session. Because I'm not a swimmer, it's forced me to swim longer than I would do in a pool.
Okay.
If you're doing like 100s, times however many. So out here, I've noticed a difference in the water itself, especially open water in the sea. I feel like I'm swimming rather than trying to fight to stay afloat. So I think that's been a key session in the build to coming out here. Not having a wetsuit on makes a big difference, especially to me. I don't feel like I kick, and a lot of people sort of say, yeah, you're kicking quite strong. but I'd say the longer sessions in the pool have helped that transition here for that.
Yeah, definitely. Good. So there is a pool available out here, and some races that you may travel to in certainly the Ironman circuit or even Challenge circuit in itself, you've got that possibility of getting into a local swimming pool. I'm a strong believer as a coach and an athlete in that getting out into the open water is essential, especially in the race week in itself. But the sooner you can do it, certainly in the UK we have issues with blue-green algae in open water. If it's a sea swim, get yourself into a sea swim environment in itself. Being here in Kona, you've been here for 2 weeks pretty much.
Yep.
That opportunity has been, and you've done that. You've done a couple of open water swims. You actually haven't gone down to the pool where it's getting really busy, and that fundamental is it is individual, that choice, but however it's essential for that adaptation phase.
I think the pool side of stuff, you get into your comfort zone, and if you want to stop, you'll stop. If you want to get out, you'll get out. In the pool, if you're however many 100 meters out, you've still got to swim to come back. But also in the open water side of it, there is a current out there, although it's not a massive current.
Sure.
With the tidal sort of switch, there is a little bit, but it's not massive. But it forces you to swim bilateral in some cases.
Yep.
So you're coming away from maybe your comfort side, which you would always go to in the pool. If you breathe right, you're going to breathe right all the time in the pool, unless you're on a session where you've got to do bilateral 3s or 5s or whatever you're doing. In the sea, you might be able to sit in your comfort zone and breathe to the right or to the left all the way out, but then you've got a bit of a tidal shift on the way back,
like we had today this morning.
And you're forced to breathe the other way, otherwise you're swallowing salt water,
Sure.
which will have an effect on your body later on, whether that's a sore stomach, or you're stopping because you're choking on salt water. And it can have a big effect on time in the water. So yeah,
absolutely, yeah. It was a bit of a chop out there today as well. So it's an out and back course here in Kona, and it's quite difficult to sight. On the way out, I was swimming with one of the pro athletes today from the Seychelles, Nick Baldwin, and he was saying to me on the way out, you're looking for that little mound on the horizon. There's a little mound on the archipelago of the island.
Yeah, so I found it, trying to time your sighting with the rise and fall of the waves as well.
Yeah, great tip.
And you can feel that as it comes.
Yes, you
and
can.
as long as you get the timing right with your stroke pattern, as the rise comes up, you can lift your head out of the water. Crocodile eyes, if you're happy with that sort of phrase, and you come up and look front. And you can either pick up other people's swim hats or you can pick up the buoys as a sequence. You might not see every buoy, but you can pick some up in the distance,
Sure.
and you can stay online that way. So that's
fantastic. We're covering quite a little bit of tips here, and we're going to break this down into a couple of interviews. So we've looked at some of the swim. This is really good pointers for us to look at: sighting, climatization, adaptation into the open water environment in itself, the essentials of getting into that open water environment. Wetsuit, non-wetsuits, there are stronger swimmers would prefer possibly as little restriction, so as little wetsuit as possible. However, it can also benefit them to have that wetsuit because everyone else is going to be going a minute to 90 seconds faster over the Ironman distance in particular. So we're going to break this up into a couple of interviews, and we'll drop it down and we'll move on to, in stage 2, we'll start to have a look a bit on the biking of what you've been doing since we've been out here.